Welcome back to the next session of our Mandelbulb 3D Tutorial Series. In the last session I was saying I have really got to work on this dynamic fog. It is just too intense. Now I'm not really sure whether or not it's the fog or if it's the light source. Whatever it is, I've got to find a solution because it's just wiping out a lot of detail and it's just overloading the scene. So now I did save the project on in the last session, so I'm okay to revert. Let's get over to the lighting tab and let's figure out what's going on. Now I could go to the dynamic fog, and I have played with that before a couple sessions ago. Not really sure if that's where I need to be now. I do have an ambient setting, and I have here the ambient light intensity. I'm not sure if that's where I need to be either. Now I also have the light source intensity. I'm going to play with that for a minute. Now here is my intensity. Currently it says 1.4E, and then it's got a 0 after it. So there we go. That light amplitude, use exponent style like. Okay, good. I don't care what it means. What I care about is if I reduce the intensity, does that help this area here? Now I'm going to write down 1.4E because I want to be able to go back. I'm going to reduce the intensity by using this up-down control, and there we go. So I am reducing intensity, and it's reducing intensity all right, but it's reducing the intensity on the object, not this background dynamic fog. So that's not really where I want to be. I'm going to dial that back up to 1.4, and it looks like I can't get back to 1.4. There we go. 1.4E0. That's back where I was. I do want that scene well lit, and I don't want that. Now let's go try ambient. Let's see if we can dial the ambient down. Let's go with depth first. All right, now ambient depth is helping, but I'm having to go too far. It's not what I want to do. All right, let's try. Here we go. You see, when I reduce the ambient intensity, I lose a lot of detail on my object. I don't want to do that. All right, I'm still working on that dynamic fog. I'm trying to find out where that problem is. Ambient shadow? No, that's not what I want. Let's go back to dynamic fog. Yeah, well, that's where I want to be. Definitely that's where I want to be. But, okay. Now, over here, I made a bunch of changes all in here, and there is no undo. So, in order to not get myself in too deep here on changes, I'm going to actually revert back to my previous save. So, I want to open my previous. All right. Get that back. Yeah, okay, that's good. I'm on a different frame, which is okay. And the reason I reverted because I had messed around with these controls and there is no undo. So I'm pretty certain that it's my dynamic fog that is at issue. So I'm going to see if I can reduce that. Now, if I reduce it like that, I lose a lot of that feeling of that intense distance background. All right, if I go too far, I start getting really dark shadows, and it just changes the whole character of the scene. I don't want to do that. All right, now that's obviously too much. Now here we go. So let's see if I can dial this in to an acceptable, okay, an acceptable compromise. That might be it. All right, and far offset, does that help me any? Yeah, it does. Okay. You see this right in here? All right, watch right in here. Okay, come on. Okay, there we go. That's a good place for it. Now this is how close the fog is to the camera. I think that that's pretty good. Blend of fog doesn't really help me any. Okay, I think that that's pretty good. All right, now let's save this. And I'm going to say this is, okay, I'm going to say this is session 129 after dynamic fog change. Good. Now, let's apply that to all the keyframes. It's easy to forget to do, but you got to understand here that we are working on animation. So that means any work we do down here ultimately needs to come up into our animation. If we were working on a still, well, we don't need to worry about any of that, but we're working on an animation. So we want to get this dynamic fog onto all of our keyframes. So we'll get the processing's window up, all the fog, all the light and color settings is checked on, apply. Okay, I can exit that. Okay. So I think that we have brought this animation. I'm gonna pull down another frame, keyframe, calculate it. All right, I think that we have brought this animation probably about as good as we're going to get it. All right, so the dynamic fog is about the best I'm going to be able to do. Some of the reason why this is beginning to, the detail is beginning to be lost here is because of the far plane value, but I don't have the ability in my processings to apply a far plane value to all of the keyframes. It's just an oversight. I can certainly get a far plane value into this keyframe, all right, by pulling it down to main, over to the navigator, modify the far plane, and push it back up and overwrite that keyframe. So I could do that. But the reason that we're losing a lot of this is because of the dynamic fog and the far plane, and that the Mandelbulb rendering software, internal software algorithm, simply doesn't have the beef to render all these objects way out in the distance. There comes a point where it just isn't going to render the graphic any further. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal because that is all part of the that's just all part of the environment. Let's pull another keyframe down. All right, let's get a good view here. Okay. Hey, not too bad, not too bad. All right. You see how the blue is less intense? Our lighting here is a little mucky and anyway. Sometimes all you can do is compromise. Here's our far background. The dynamic fog has been softened. What I don't like about this is I don't like the contrast. We're going to do one more thing. I'm going to modify the contrast here and apply that to all the keyframes. I'll see you in the next session, and we're going to tweak this out just a little bit more, and I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. Okay? I'll see you in the next session.